All right, well, welcome everyone to the JUSP usage statistics demo and webinar. Firstly, I would like to say that I'm joining you from the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung peoples of the Kulin Nations, and I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands across Australia where we live, learn and work. We acknowledge and celebrate the inherent strengths of Aboriginal, Torres Strait Islander and other First Nations peoples and communities, and recognise their continuing connections to land, waters, sky and culture. We pay respects to their elders past and present, and would like to welcome and extend our respects to First Nations peoples attending today. I would like to encourage you to share which country you're attending from today, and it's lovely to see all your faces. I'm sure I've met most of you, but firstly, just who we are. So I'm Sae Ra Germaine, the Deputy CEO of CAVAL. We've got Annalisa Christoph from CAVAL. We've got Laura, Hannah, Paul, Alice, and I think I've got everyone. Yep, from JISC. They'll introduce themselves later on. So CAVAL, as a member organisation, has two key core strategic focus areas of collaboration and collection management. And we strive to engage with industry partners and thought leaders to develop services, programs, and initiatives to support growth and innovation amongst our membership and the wider library community. Since 1979, we've played a key role in supporting digital platforms, including technical support for many software companies that may not have a presence in our time zone. CAVAL has also been a provider of statistical environments for not just our members, but for the broader library community as well. And I think we did the call stats from day dot. I've still got a copy of the red book on my desk at work. With this in mind, way back in 2014, CAVAL had a members' day, and there was a very loud need to tell the library story and to link resource usage to retention and performance. Also to look at ways to support purchasing and possibly proposing cancellations, establish cost per use, identify areas of education and promotion, and also benchmark our usage against other like universities and libraries. After a lot of in-person interviews and a scan of vendor products in global environments, we looked at ways that we could actually partner with different organisations to support this need for usage statistics within the Australian Aotearoa community. We regularly support projects designed to offer better and more cost-effective options for not only our members, but the broader library sector. Collaboration is in our DNA, and we instantly saw benefits with partnering with the JUSP team at JISC, and it has been a very successful one ever since. Now, before I hand over to Laura, if you do have any questions about anything, please do feel free to put it in the chat, and Annalisa and I will monitor that, and we will come to questions after that. But now I'd like to hand over to Laura. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. So Hannah, if you wouldn't mind sharing the screen, and I'll make a start. Okay, so just some quick introductions. So again, my name's Laura Wong. I am the product manager for JUSP and another service called Iris. And then with me today doing the presentation, we've got Alice Hughes and Anna Reedy, who are both service coordinators, and their role is to help all our users get the most out of the service and help you with any day-to-day queries. And then we've also got Paul Meehan joining us, who will be available for questions at the end, and his role is focused on the data collection and liaising with publishers. Okay, thank you. Okay, just a quick overview of today's session. So we're going to start with an overview of the JUSP service. Hannah's then going to do a demo, and then I'm going to finish up just with a quick sort of update on what's coming up next, particularly with Counter 5.1, and then we'll hand over to you for questions. So at that point, I will hand over to Alice, who's going to do an intro for us.
Okay, so hi everyone. As Laura said, I'm just going to give a brief overview before we go to Hannah for the demonstration. So JUSP collects usage data from suppliers on behalf of libraries and pulls it all together in one place So this means that you can avoid having to go to lots of separate places to get usage data, which will obviously save you time and the duplication of effort. So JUSP helps you to evaluate the whole picture by providing access to journal, book, database, and platform usage in a wide range of reports, and all in the one interface. You can also see whether your collections are meeting the needs of your students, staff, and learners. It helps you to inform decisions about e-resource subscriptions, cancellations, renewals, and purchases by analysing trends in usage. And this can assist with targeted promotion of underused as well as well-used resources. JUSP also enables you to demonstrate value and impact of the library resources and justify your expenditure. And again, you can save time by viewing usage data in one place and by gathering usage data directly into library management systems and tools such as Alma. So one of the key things to mention about JUSP is that it works with counter-compliant data. So Counter is an international standard for counting usage of online resources. The way that we work with the usage data is that we collect standardized data. So it means that everything that you're looking at is all to the same standard. And we provide these comparable reports and bring all that information together for you in one place. So I think we're going to hand over to Hannah now for the demonstration.
Hi, yes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk you through some of the different pages within the JUSP portal, and then also give you a demo of some of the reports that you can use. So we'll have a look at the admin section first, and look at the different pages contained in this section. So the first page we have available here is data available at my institution. So what this page shows is which publishers you have data for in JUSP and what time period that data covers for the different types of reports. So it's clear there which reports you can run for each publisher. So if you wanted to check a certain publisher, you could come to this page. Or perhaps you've run a report and unexpectedly seen no data, where you could check this page just to see whether that data has been collected. So this page is updated each time the data is updated, so those dates will be up to date for you. It's also split into two sections. At the top, we have the reports that are according to the Counter R5 standard. And if I scroll all the way down, you have the reports that were collected under the Counter R4 standard. So that's adding data at your institution. If there is new data or additional data you want to add for other publishers, then if you get in touch with the CAVAL team and liaise with them, and we'll work with them to get that added for you. We have the supplier status page. So this page highlights if there are any issues or conditions on the data that's currently being collected. So it gives you an overview of all the publishers. It's not just specific to your institution. So again, if you've run a report and something isn't quite right or something's missing, it is worth checking this page just to see if there's any notes on any issues. But of course, if there are wider issues that you need to be aware of, we'd make sure that we informed CAVAL, who would inform you about these issues. Next up, we have our data restatements page. So this page documents where we may have had to make changes to the data supplied to us. So occasionally a publisher will need to do this for a variety of reasons. And when we've had to do that, we will put that information here and we'll list the reasons behind why that's occurred so that you can easily access that information. And then again, in this section relating to publishers, we have our wish list. So this shows us a list of publishers who are not yet included in JUSP and some comments as to why that is the case. So if there is a particular publisher you would like to see in JUSP, then please get in touch with CAVAL and let them know, and then we'll get your request added to the wish list. And what we do is we take this information and we consider it in meetings with JISC's licensing managers. And your interest in a publisher can really assist us in discussions with that publisher. So back to the admin menu, and I'm just going to hand over to Laura now to take you through a couple more of these reports.
Okay, thank you, Hannah. So as well as the reports and visualizations that Hannah's going to show you next, we have two other options for getting data out of JUSP. So firstly, we have the monthly email delivery report, and secondly, we have the option to harvest data from JUSP into your own systems via Sushi. And you can configure both of these within your admin section. So we'll take a look at the email delivery reports first. So here you can set up to have reports sent to your inbox each month. So the process for doing this is first you'll need to validate and activate your email address. So this means you can only set up emails for yourself. If someone else wants emails, they need to log into JUSP, or you can forward them onto them. As you see, there are 6 reports that are available to select, and you can view links for sample reports, which go to the reports in the interface. So the thing to note about this, so we send the reports as soon as we have data collected for all of the publishers for your institution. So publishers have 28 days to supply stats under counter, and they may supply them at any point during the month. So as soon as we've got all the data for you, we send out the email. If for whatever reason, for example, a publisher's late into supplying, for example, or there are issues with the reports, we send the report anyway on the 4th of the next month. So this month we would be sending out, we will send out July data as soon as it's ready, or we'd send it out on the 4th of September. That's the key things to note about the email report. So we have a look at the Sushi admin. So some of you probably have library management systems or ERMs, and you can harvest data directly into those systems. You can do that by going directly to the publisher, or you could do it via JUSP. If you want to do it by, the advantage to doing it via JUSP is that rather than having to go in and set up each publisher individually, you've got all the information in one place. So you've got one endpoint to work with, you've got a list of platform IDs, and it's relatively easy to get that in place. And secondly, we've done a lot of the validation on the data format, so you know it's going to be good quality data. I'm not going to go through the process of setting this up here, but just to note that we've got several guides for all the different platforms that we currently work with. Okay. And I'll now hand it back over to Hannah to look at the reports.
Thank you. So what we'll do now is we will have a look at some of the reports and visualizations in the system. So we're going to use this section, the R5 reports and visualizations. And when you first go into this section, you can use the drop-down menu, and it shows you all the reports that you have access to. So what I'll do today is give you an overview of a few of the reports, but working through those reports should help you with navigating through all of the reports. So the first report we're going to have a look at is one of the title reports, the TR summary report. So this report will give you an overview of totals or totals counts for all services or a selected service. So we want to select our view here. So we want to decide what we're going to look at. So you might want to look at journals or books, and you can select a time period here. So you're offered calendar year or calendar year trends or monthly, or you can even select your own date period here. So for today's demo, we're going to have a look at journals and we'll have a look at data range. But you can also have the option here to use the select filters option, which gives you even more choices to narrow down that selection of data for you. So you can work through and make it really selective to what you're looking for. but we'll look at just a smaller range today. Then we have the option here to select whether we want to see controlled or gold open access articles, so what access type we want to see, or we can see both. So I'm just going to leave the selection as both there for now. And here is then where we can select our platform. So we can either select an individual publisher we want to see the data for, or all the services that we want to look at. So make your selection. Today, we're going to have a look at all services, and then you can select your date range. So I'm just going to select a small date range so that the report runs okay. And then when you've made all your selections, we're going to select Get Report to bring this up on the screen. If you do want to use this in an Excel format, then the reports all do have the Get Spreadsheet option available as well. So then that will download that into a spreadsheet, which then allows you to use that data and to manipulate it in any way that you wish to. So we're going to choose the Get Report, which is going to bring the data up on the screen for us. So what do we see in this report? Well, we clearly see here an overview of what we've selected so that we know what parameters the data is according to. And then we also have an overview of the totals for the period. So we can clearly see how many total item requests there were for our services and how many unique item requests there were. Then we have all the data here by each platform. And we have it set out into the total item and unique item requests. So when the data is first pulled through, it's sorted into A to Z order. So that will allow you to easily find a specific publisher if you're looking for someone specific. Or if you wanted to have a view where you saw it by the most requests, you can change the order so that you can view it that way. So just by clicking on these titles, it will change it so that the highest number comes first. So using this the data in this screen, you can do that. So why would you use this report? Well, it will allow you to report a high-level summary of usage for a publisher, and then you to see those usage trends, especially where you use the trends options. It gives you the totals based on the title master report, and then it aggregates those across services to provide that high-level summary of usage. So that's our summary report. We'll have a look at another one of our title reports, the TRJ1 Journal Requests report. So this report allows you to view all subscribed journal usage from a single platform. And you have the option here to select whether you want a standard or a custom view. So the standard view is the report preset as provided by Counter. And now the custom view, this includes the same data as the standard view, but it allows you to change the display to make it easier to view. So we'll have a look at the custom view for today's demo. And then again, we have some parameters to select here. So we can select whether we want to have the data split out into multiple rows, or whether we want to have single rows where the data is showing on just one row and the metrics are sorted out into columns. I'll show you both options, but I'll start with the multiple rows today. So again, select your publisher. So I'll make a selection here and your date range, and then Get Report. So what are we seeing here? So again, we have that overview of what we've selected and the totals highlighted to us. And then we have in the table it lists each title that is available for that publisher and then the metrics associated with that title. So we can see here that we have the total item requests and the unique item requests split out into two separate columns. You also have additional metadata associated with the titles here. So if you needed to verify or identify it, you can use the DOI or the ISSN. Again, it's pre-filtered to present alphabetically, but you can change that if you want to sort it differently. So that's when we use the multi metrics type per row feature. Your title will feature on one row and we'll have the two columns. If I change that to the single metric type and update, when it slowly but surely will do it, you can see that the titles are presented across two rows so that you have the total item and unique item request numbers split out. So you'll find out what your preference is, but you can do that both ways. So why would you use this report? Well, this is the main journal usage report. This report will allow you to evaluate usage of journal subscriptions in order to then help you inform your renewal decisions. Because the report contains two metrics, both the total item requests, that is useful for year-on-year comparisons, and the unique item request is useful for cross-platform comparisons because you can address cases where both the PDF and the HTML versions have been viewed by the same session. We also have the TRB1 report, which is used in the same way, but that will give you your usage for books rather than for journals. So that's that report. We'll move on to another now, our filter title master report. So we have several filters in this report that you can use to select which data you want to investigate to really tailor your report. So for each case, you can select more than one filter at a time, but for this demo, we'll just use one for each option. So you have the option to select from different data types. So I'm just going to select journals for now. And then you can select, you can narrow it down to a section of that data type. So for example, if you chose books, you may just want to see chapters from those books. In this case, I'm going to select article. Again, we can select our access types. And then we also have the option here to select the method of access we want to see. So if we select regular, we're going to look at usage that is generated by human browsing. Or if we selected TDM, that would look at usage via text data mining. So I'll select regular there. Then again, we have the option to select the metric type. So to choose between total or unique or investigations or requests or a combination of a few. We also have the option to choose between items or titles. And you can also select here to view usage for when a limit's been exceeded. So seeing how many people have tried to access a title after you've reached your agreed institutional limit with the publisher. And we also have the no license option, where users have tried to access content that you don't actually have access to under the agreement. So we'll use one of those options this time. We'll have a look at no license. You also have further columns. You can include various metadata you may want to see, so you can work through them and add any that you might wish. And then we have that display option again, whether you want to see your results on single or multiple rows. So we'll select our service and a date range again, and I'll get report. And that's just going to bring the data through for us. So again, we have our overview and our totals. And then we have the breakdown of the report. So as we selected single rows in this case, we have each title displayed as an individual row of our numbers for that title. So it clearly highlights what metric type we're looking at. We have a total results column here, how many in total over that time period. And then we have that broken down into a month by month case. So why would you use this report? Well, it allows you to see usage for individual titles, again, helping you make those decisions around subscriptions. In particular, you can view how much interest there is for titles that you don't have a license for, or how much interest there is beyond your limit, your subscription limit, which allows you to take that evidence for when you have conversations about renewing or subscribing. This report also will allow you to filter to view publishers of conference proceedings. So if you wanted to look into that metric particularly, then you can use this report to do that. So just one more title report we'll demo to you this morning is the top titles report. So this report is great because it allows you to view the most used titles, either books or journals. And again, you can either select all services or you can have a selection of up to 10. We have our views here, our view options here again. So picking between journals or books and time period. So you might want to look at a year or select your own date range. So I'm going to select book and choose a date range. And again, you have that select filters options if you want to narrow it down even further. So again, working through the filters, selecting what data you want to use and what data you want to see. I'm going to leave this as total item requests, and I'm going to use the all services option again. And keep the reporting period small. I'll get the report. So that's going to slowly but surely pull that data through for me. You can also decide how many results you want to see on the screen. You might find it easier to have a long list to consider in one go, or you may just want to see a few at one time. So what do we see in this report? Again, we have that overview of our selection, and then we have this data presented. So we have each title listed, and we have the service that's come from and the identifier. And then for this report, the information is presented from the highest data in that reporting period through to the lowest. Because we selected all services, it's clearly identified to us which publisher the title has come from. And we have that metadata for easy identification. So you can scroll through the report and it gives you the overview of your most used titles there. The report allows you to see those details, especially if you're looking at which titles have had the most denied access requests. The report is also good for monitoring your usage of ebooks, and then it really helps to identify those potential resources for purchase. So that's a bit of a whistle-stop tour of our title reports. As I mentioned earlier, we also do have our platform and database reports. So I won't go into these individually. I'll just give you a brief overview of how these can be used. So the database reports allow you to review the usage for each database on a platform, which includes allowing you to see again, the total investigations, requests and searches. So they can help you to identify potential resources for purchase and by reviewing the attempted and denied access. So you've got those different options there for you even. And then we have the platform reports as well. these allow you to do the same, but these reports show you the usage for the platform or the publisher. So that's combining all the individual titles so that you have an idea of the usage for that individual publisher. And again, that's really useful for when you're preparing for those discussions. And as with all the other reports we've looked at today, you can filter those reports, select your different options so that you can get the data that you need to see. Another way to view JUSP data is to use the visualization section, which we see here to the right of the screen. So this presents the data in various charts. So we have 4 different visuals here that allow you to do that. So what I'll do is I'll demo one of these visuals to you and then give you an overview of what each will show to you. So we'll have a look at our service summary. So this visual, again, as with the reports, it allows you to select your parameters so you get what you want to see in the visual. So we can look at it in 2 ways. We can either use this bubble chart as we see here, or it may be that you prefer to use a bar chart. Either option gives you a glance, the numbers for the different platforms, and really just jumps out to you which ones have the most usage. As you work through the different options and make different changes, you can see that the visuals will change with your selection. So you can see there in real time, according to the selection, the different the output of the data. So this visual just makes it really clear at a glance which of those publishers are getting the most requests. And by hovering over the bubble, in this case, you get an overview of the data for that individual publisher. Even when you hover over the smaller bubbles, you can see the information there. If I just go back to our visualizations home, you can see we have 3 other visualizations here. So our trends visual, again, this will give you a visual across a period of 1 or more years, and it's a usage for a selected publisher. Again, you can work through and choose your different options for your report. And then this visual will display as a line chart. So it shows you the ups and downs of the usage for that publisher during the year that you selected. Or if you've selected multiple years, you'll have a line for each year so you can see at a glance how the years compare to each other. We have our metrics visual. So this visual is displaying as a bar chart, and it allows you to have that side-by-side comparison of the different metrics for publishers. So you can have books and journals combined or display one at a time. And again, select your different options. And as you select your options, the visual will change according to your selections. And then you can clearly see which of your metrics has had the most usage. And then finally, in this section, we just have our top titles visual. So again, selecting different parameters, and you get the visual of the top titles that are being used in your institution. And it displays in a bar chart format, so you can see clearly the percentage of how much that's being used. So why would you use visualizations? Well, they're giving you just a different perspective of the data. The data is essentially the same as the reports, it's just appearing in a different way. So the charts may be more appealing to use or more accessible for some users when considering the data. It's also a really clear way to see which publishers have the most usage, as it can often just jump out at you in the chart, in the visual, and it helps you to really see those trends over that time period in a really clear way. So there are visuals. So just to wrap up our demo today, I'm just going to go back to our home screen and just show you some of the other options available to you that will support you when you are using JUSP. So we have our How Do I section. So if you have a question or you're looking for a specific report, this page will help guide you to which report suits you best. Because we have various questions listed here. So for example, what if I want to know about usage across all the platforms? Or what happens if I wanted to look at the most used titles? I'm going in with a question, and then there is a link directly to the report that will be most useful to me. We also have links here to those admin pages that we talked about at the very start. What if you want to find out how your usage has changed, or how do you get reports directly to your inbox? Those pages are linked directly from here as well. So this page is great if you've got something in mind that you want to do, but you're not quite sure where you will go for that. Use this page and it will help you to get to the relevant report or page. Then finally, we have our support section. So there are various pages here that will again help you through your usage of JUSP. So as mentioned a little bit earlier on, there are guides for a lot of the different reports, how to use JUSP, how to choose which report to run. So come in and use this page and look at those guides, and they will help you to figure out where you need to be in JUSP and how to use it. We also have our use cases and case studies. So these are where we've worked with different institutions to get an overview of how they're using JUSP and the benefits they find in using JUSP. So by reading through these, it may help you unlock something that you're perhaps not using at your institution, or allow you to see how to use JUSP in a different way, or give you a little bit of further inspiration for using the service. So we have both use cases and case studies there. We have our events and training page. So whenever we've run a webinar or a session with our users, we'll pop it on this page so that you can go back in your own time and view that webinar. And again, it'll help with your training and usage of JUSP. And where we have slides available, those are linked there too. And then similar to our How Do I, we have our FAQs page. So again, those questions that you might have that you're not sure about, you can come here and scroll through these. And this is split out into different sections. So we've detailed the answers, and we've also linked through to the different guides that you might find useful, including looking at the different counter reports and how we are processing your data. So they're well worth a read at some point. And finally, just here we have our glossary. So again, you might come across a term in JUSP that you're not sure exactly what it refers to. And there are lots of little eyes across the platform that you can use when you're in a report just to give you an explanation. But you also have the glossary. So you might need just to double check something, or you want to know what a certain term means, well, you'll have your explanation here. So that's our demo, and I hope that's useful to you while you're using reports. I'm going to hand back to Laura now, who's going to talk us through our next section.
Sorry, I lost my screen, found myself again. Do you bring the slide up, Hannah?
It's trying to bring it up. There we go.
Thank you. Okay, so I just want to say something about what's coming up for us. So You probably already know this, but if you don't, there's a new version of the Counter Code of Practice, Release 5.1, coming into effect in January 2025. Although the changes aren't as dramatic as the switch from 4 to 5, it is a major update with breaking changes. And what this means is that the changes are big enough that publishers, stats providers, and services like JUSP need to make changes to the way we are processing, ingesting, and presenting the reports. So over the next 6 months, our team, and probably beyond that, our team will be focusing on delivering support for 5.1. Our back-end systems and processes are getting a complete overhaul, and this is going to be the biggest part of the project for us. So it's going to be happening behind the scenes. And we're also going to be making changes to the interface to accommodate the new style reports. So as I said, they're not huge changes with the reports, but there are some little tweaks that need to be made. And at the same time, we're going to be addressing some of the outstanding accessibility issues, and also scaling back our Release 4 reports, which aren't used as much anymore. Then towards the end of the year and going into 2025, we'll be working with publishers to test reports and working with libraries in terms of offering training and support. And that's really all there is to say from a JUSP perspective on this at the moment. We'll be providing updates later on in the year, and again, those will come out through the CAVAL team. If you want to know more about the changes that are coming, you can find more on the Countermetrics website, and I'll pop a link into the chat for you afterwards. Okay, thank you.
Thank you all. That was a great presentation. So we've just got a couple of questions that have come through. The first one is from Janine McCartney Johnson. Are there no license results for unique users? No license results for unique users. So for understand question, so we have the no license. I'd have to. That's a counter question. I'd need to go back and look at how they count no license. I think there is some deduplication in it, but I think that's probably have to refer to the Counter Code of Practice to answer that question. No worries at all. Unless Paul knows off the top of his head.
No, I was wondering if you were meaning for an individual user at an institution as opposed to just the institutional number of the no license count. The reports at the moment don't contain that breakdown. They just contain the numbers for the institution as a whole. If that's the question that's being asked. Yeah, I think you'd need to speak to the publisher, I think, for that much of a breakdown. I don't think that, that data is not really in the counter reports as such. And there's a question, and it might be just a request from Michelle Morgan. Are we able to export the visualizations? Because they're amazing visualizations. If we could export them, that would be awesome. Yeah, so just to give a bit of background, so the data visualizations are built on Tableau, for those who are familiar with that software. But the Tableau API, when you embed visuals into a web page, isn't particularly flexible around options such as exporting images and so on. We used to have a sort of homespun fudged version of an export, but at the moment it's a bit messy, and that's why we've withdrawn it. So I would say you can just print the screen, which is what a lot of our users do. Obviously on Windows there's a print screen button. I'm not quite sure if there's a similar functionality on a Macintosh or other software, other computers, but that would be my recommendation at the moment. However, Tableau does go through quite a lot of iteration and upgrades, so I'm entirely sure that in a future version, and when we have time to develop it as well, we'll probably look at exporting images and things once there's a better way of doing it. Perfect. Is there any other questions from the audience? Feel free to unmute yourselves and ask. You're more than welcome to do that. Or if you can type quickly, put it in the chat as well. I guess now's a good time because our colleagues in the UK have woken up at a very early hour for us. So we'd like to take advantage of all the time that we've got with them. So please do ask as many questions as possible.
Hi, it's Michelle. I was the one who asked about the visualizations because they are great and they're especially good when you're communicating to people that this isn't their bread and butter. And but I think what I was mostly interested in is the tables that appear underneath the trend reports. So I've had a bit of a play with Tableau before, so I know that it's a cross tab, like a different way of pivoting. So if we have a problem with a vendor, and it'd just be really good to get a quick and dirty snapshot of how 1 year's comparing on the other. Is there any possibility to be able to run those reports or export those?
So the reason we turned off export on the data table is because the actual underlying data set contains everyone's data. So I think we can have a look into it. But I think we've looked into it before. We haven't found an easy way of exporting it so you just see your own data. You get everything, which we can't obviously allow. But what I would say is we could have a look. I don't know whether there's a similar report that would do the same job as you. It might be worth us or to go away and have a look at your question. We might come back with some clarity on what it is you're trying to do, and we can have a look at maybe how we can support that in a slightly different way. That helps.
Yeah, just to add to what Laura says, the sort of exports from Tableau, you get an all or nothing in a lot of cases, particularly with the API that we're using. You know, desktop Tableau is slightly different with the filtering, but when you're using the API to build stuff into web pages, it's not as flexible. And as Laura said, when we've tried to export data before, you do get everybody's, and obviously when we can't do that, you know, because the visualizations are built on 350 institutions worth of data. So you're seeing on the screen, you're seeing a filter, a snapshot, but when you export the data, it exports everything. So yeah, that's a bit of a no-no.
Okay, fair. Thank you. Thank you.
From Christine, will Counter 5 and 5.1 data be compatible if requested data that spans 24-25?
So the metrics aren't changing. There are some differences in terms of what's counted as open and what's counted as controlled and free to read. So there may need to be, we need to look at doing some comparability, and I think Council is going to be producing some guidance on that. And in terms of the JUSP point of view, we'll do best we can to provide that continuity. But we're probably going to need to display the reports very, very separately because they're going to be different reports, and that keeps things clean. But with the move from 4 to 5, what we did was we had these transitionary reports where we tried to find the closest metrics. I think the other key change to highlight between 5 and 5.1 in terms of what's being counted is that there's more emphasis on the item, and there's going to be changes to the total item requests for books, where it's going to start counting chapters rather than whole books in certain cases. But the unique title requests will remain exactly the same, so that will provide some continuity. And we'll be providing more guidance alongside Counter later on about what's changing and where you might see some slight differences in figures. But on the whole, there should be some continuity there. Hope that helps.
And one from Katie. If we set up our sushi harvesting using the JUSP server, do we need to make any changes after moving to Counter 5.1?
Yes. So Counter with 5.1, they've actually specified that we have to name the sushi servers need to be named differently, so they have to be named 5 and 5.1. There will be big enough changes that you will need to do a different setup. I think on what that looks like, it's far too early to say because there will be dependencies on your harvester making the necessary updates and on us making our changes. But what we did last time was we worked quite closely with the providers to do step-by-step guidance for each provider, so it was easy to see what you needed to do and how to do it. One thing that will remain the same is there will be one sushi endpoint that you can use and a set of IDs, but those might change as well. But I don't know yet because it's too early to say.
But luckily,
yes,
you only have to change
changes.
the one endpoint rather than a whole bunch of different endpoints. So that's at least the benefit. All right. Well, I'll take the last opportunities. Nope, I'm taking silence as golden. We'll give you all 9 minutes back of the day, or of your working day at least. Thank you to the JISC team. We really do appreciate you getting up so early for us. I know the time zones aren't friendly between us and the UK, but hopefully we'll be able to run a similar session. Well, even about the difference between 5 and 5.1, possibly we can run something for the Australian audience. So thank you so much for attending, everyone. And there will be a recording available very shortly, and we'll send out links to everyone that has attended and registered as well. So we'll make sure that that's available for everyone. So thank you all, and hope to see you again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks all.